Oh, I'm delighted to say that joining us on the phone from Singapore, Brian Molko. Brian, how are you?
I'm good, Mark. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, really, really well. Yeah, but would that be the first time people have heard that on the radio?
On the radio in the UK, I believe so.
Yeah.
It's a single in the States and in Australia as well.
Right.
So they've been playing it for a little while.
Okay. What time is it in Singapore?
It's coming up at 10 o'clock at night.
Right. Okay. So you've not got a gig tonight then?
No, tomorrow. Tomorrow night. We played Bangkok on Saturday.
Yeah.
And Singapore tomorrow.
I mean, does Placebo kind of, is the message out there right across the world? You seem to sort of, the global tour.
Well, yeah, but it seems, yeah, pretty much everywhere. We haven't played Africa since the late 90s.
Oh, you have played there, though, have you?
Yeah, we opened for Garbage in 1998 in South Africa.
Right.
But apart from that, we've pretty much done all the other continents.
Right, and is there any country in Europe or anywhere where is proved impervious to the charms of Placebo? Is there anywhere you're not big?
Probably the United States, to be honest.
Is it really?
But that demands sort of a great deal of commitment, I think. And there's just so many bands in the U.S. that you kind of have to move there,
right,
in order to sort of build it. But we've got a new deal, and we're going to go over there in October. So we're hoping,
right,
to make a small dent.
Okay, all right then. So tell us about Singapore. I've never been there, and what's it like as a town to play in and a time to enjoy?
Well, Singapore is like one of the cleanest places I've ever been in my life. And it's like complete chalk and cheese night and day to Bangkok, which is one of the dirtiest places I've been.
Right.
So if you do the Bangkok Singapore thing, it's like landing on a different planet.
So Singapore's kind of like your post-Bangkok detox, is it?
Indeed, yeah, yeah. If you can keep yourself out of raffles, if you can keep away from the Singapore slings,
right? Okay,
then yeah.
Oh, do you keep away from
a detox for the soul?
Indeed, so. Do you keep away from the Singapore slings? Do you live an abstemious life on tour, or do you throw yourself headlong into the hedonism?
Well, it's sort of become a bit of a physical imperative, not to.
Yeah, yeah.
In my case, I think there's probably like a finite amount of time or a finite amount of sort of abuse your body can take, and
yes.
I squeezed it all into about 10 years.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit too enthusiastic in my youth. So I lead a relatively abstinent life in comparison to the 90s. I don't really remember much about the 90s, but that's because I had too much of a good time.
Well, quite right.
I remember you from the 90s.
Yeah,
I remember your band.
Well, Placebo and the Shire Horses had a kind of an almighty union. There was talk of a supergroup at one time, wasn't there, Brian?
There was, but I think we decided that that the world just wasn't ready yet.
No, I think that was right. Yeah. So I was thinking about you and Stefan, of course. Who kind of bumped into each other at a tube station all those years ago with starting the band. And I suppose it's been quite nice because drummers have come and gone, and live members have come and gone. So there's been other people in there, but you've kind of been this rock solid marriage at the centre of Placebo.
Yeah, we have, and I think it's probably down to the fact that we're two very, very different people, that we complement each other very well.
Yeah,
and musically we come from two very, very different places. My approach is much more instinctual, and he's more classically trained and technical than I am.
Right.
And but we've managed to keep our friendship alive. Yeah, through all the ups and downs, and we've managed to still be making music that people want to listen to, and so we're quite proud of that. But we also feel quite privileged to be in the position that we are.
Yeah. No, I suppose
20 years down the line.
Yeah, well, that's it. I suppose I was thinking with other people having come and gone. I suppose you're not like technically a duo, so you're not in that hothouse where you'd really get sick of each other because there are other people coming in and out from time to time.
Yeah, that is true. And like you mentioned, the live bands. Actually, the live bands have been growing and growing over the years. We're actually 6 on stage now.
Right, okay.
But it's it's a really strong unit now. So we're very happy.
Tell us about the new record then, Loud Like Love. I was listening through to it this morning on a link, so I haven't got the finished thing, and I've only listened through to it once. And I was struck. There's kind of a lot of sort of elegiac things, a lot of kind of heartfelt, considered sort of things. Songs like A Million Little Pieces and Hold On To Me. I picked a line out of Hold On To Me. It says, "I am a small and gentle man who carries the weight of the world on his shoulders." And I thought, oh dear, is that because you are a small and gentle man, this much I know. Do you carry the weight of the world on your shoulders?
Well, yeah, I certainly have done at times. I'm kind of lightening up a little bit these days. I mean, it's quite a contemplative record, and it's a very honest record. And it has a unifying theme to it. It's not a concept album because there isn't sort of a narrative that runs through it like your classic prog concept albums from the 70s. But I see it kind of as like 10 short stories, that approaches a unifying theme from different angles.
What is the unifying theme?
Well, it's love, I guess, but this being Placebo World, it's not a collection of love songs because for me, in my experience, it's not. Love isn't necessarily all about the good times. And this being Placebo World, there's also a lot of heartbreak on this record. And it deals with emotions like jealousy and the absence of love and feeling isolated and disconnection and things like that. The first track that you just heard is probably Loud Like Love. The title track is probably the most upbeat song on the album.
Yeah, and I mean, some of the other things, I mean, we'll play the single, we've been playing the single, Too Many Friends, and you seem to be tackling kind of, cyberbullying and issues like that on that one.
Well, there was sort of a bit of a perfect storm that happened around the time that I wrote that song. I mean, I don't know, I'm not too sure what I did on my computer, but one day it started advertising to me differently. Up until then it had advertised to me specifically as a heterosexual male, and I don't know what I typed into Google or whatever, but it started advertising to me differently, and I thought, like, oh my God, how interesting, my computer thinks I'm gay today. And then I thought, like, oh, what a ridiculous way to start a song. Yeah. And around the same time, some friends of mine whose social network, which I don't, said to me that they were stopped taking friend requests because they had too many friends. And I thought, oh, what a strange idea, what a strange concept to me. How can you have too many friends? And how many friends do I have? And how is friendship changing in the 21st century? And what effect is all of this technology having on us? Right. Is it bringing us closer together, or is it affecting our social skills in the real physical world? Yeah. And so I kind of sat down and poured that all into one song, which ended up as the first single, Too Many Friends. And
if you say it's contemplative and talking about some of the kind of darker sides of love, if that was how you were when you were writing, are you in a sort of a brighter space now? Are you in love now?
I'm in love with my son. He's the love of my life.
How old is he?
He's 8 now.
Right.
He's 8 years old, and it's a wonderful age.
Yeah.
Well, I really don't believe that you have to be in a sort of a dark place to access those emotions and to write about them.
Of course not.
Perhaps even sort of getting a little bit of distance from them enables you to sort of look at those things more objectively.
Yeah.
For me, kind of writing's become more of a discipline, really.
Yeah.
But I am pretty much pulled towards, melancholy subjects and dysfunction a little bit more. I just find them more interesting to write about.
Yeah, yeah. So what keeps you sane on tour? What do you do if you're not drinking anymore? You're not kind of, the last man standing at the party. What do? You get out and see the places? Will you go out and kind of visit places in Singapore while you're there?
Well, yeah, we see as much as possible now. I mean, we did a couple of world tours without really seeing the outside of our hotel room in the early days. So yeah, we do actually make quite an effort now to soak up as much local culture as possible.
And what do you like doing when you're not being Placebo? When you get back home, apart from your son, spending time with him, what do you like to do?
Well, that's a very good question. I have realized that I don't really sort of have a hobby or anything. I've realized that lately, and I really need to find something that's going to keep me occupied and keep idle hands being the devil's playthings,
right.
and try and keep me on the straight and narrow. So I'm thinking about that a lot recently, of late, but I haven't found the thing just yet.
Okay, all right then. So you're on tour for quite a while now, aren't you? I think you don't get to the UK until December, I think.
That's right. Yeah, we'll be doing a UK tour in December, and doing Europe and Eastern Europe before that. A couple of gigs in the US in October, and this is the Asian leg. So busy.
Okay. Well, look, we'll let you go. Will you go out now, or will you go to sleep now?
Well, it's a school night, you see.
Right.
I've just come in from dinner.
Right.
To talk to you, so I'll probably take it easy tonight. Right. I might go out tomorrow night, though.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, look, we'll play Too Many Friends in a moment, but then we can let you go and not keep you hanging on the line while we play the records. You wanted to hear a bit of Jessica Hoop, who's a friend of this program and lives nearby, and so tell us about your love of Jessica Hoop.
Well, yeah, I'm quite captivated by Jessica Hoop. I mean, I only really discovered her on her last album, the House That Jack Built. But I'm really, I'm really into her voice. I think there's a real kind of wonder to the way that she sings. Right. I find it quite enrapturing. Right, okay. And it sort of reminds me, especially this last album, reminds me of a lot of the sort of left field acoustic kind of pop that I sort of fell in love with in the 80s. Sort of REM, Suzanne Vega, 10,000 Maniacs, Natalie Merchant from 10,000 Maniacs. I think, I can really sort of hear similarities between their voices. So it takes me to sort of a nostalgic place. I think it's intelligent pop music that's quite sophisticated, and we haven't got a lot of that around.
Well, we'll play that. We'll play that. Moment, and also, a bit earlier before, because I said we were talking to you in Singapore, I used that as an excuse to play Singapore by Tom Waits, which I love. And of course, Jessica Hoop was nanny to Tom Waits' kids.
Indeed, she was.
So that's all fitting together. Brian, lovely to talk to you. We'll catch up face to face when you do the UK dates.
Love to, Mark. Well, thanks for taking the time.
Okay, Brian.
To you.
All right, give our love to Stefan, and we'll see you soon.
Will do. Thanks.
Take care. Bye. Bye. This is Jessica Hoop.
Bye.